appreciate you being here. Go ahead. If you don't mind, introduce yourself. Tell us your name and the name of your business. Then we'll get right into it.
Okay, yeah, I'm Vehano Joseph. I'm the CEO of Dreamstone Investments. We are a local real estate investment firm. We're based out of Atlanta and Tampa. We have just shy of 680 units under management, or $75 million of assets under management. We've grown probably we've probably doubled the size of our company in the last 3 years. So
Wow.
That's kind of who we are, what we do, and we love it.
So where are you from?
I'm originally from South Africa.
What part?
Cape Town.
So I have a good friend of mine that lives. He's one of the most committed networkers in our kind of sphere. His name is Rui Pereira, and he's from Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And we've been kind of opened up to all, and he'll appreciate this shout out on the podcast actually. But we've been introduced to a lot of people in that world. There's a lot of really good, really sharp business people in that area that just really understand the way to kind of capture a market. And really see things through to its fullest. So how did you get into, and tell me, what are some of the services that you guys provide? I know you said kind of assets under management as well as units. What are some of those, the gray areas that you guys get into? Where do you kind of get your business from?
Yeah, so our business predominantly is a venture capitalist type of business or private equity business, kind of merged into one asset management company. And the way we, describe it as multi-family, we buy apartment complexes, buildings, and we do development. So, when I refer to units, people normally say doors. So it's like number of units under management, and then.
And how many complexes is that of those 680? Is that 5 complexes? Is that 10 or?
So we have our own personal portfolio of probably five properties, which is roughly 350 units. And then we have a property management company that serves external clients. So we have in that space, so over 300 and odd external clients that have individual either single family homes or small multi family units. So those units, we basically, we manage it from the day to day, take care of the maintenance, all of that kind of stuff. And
that's basically the rest of those 300 and
correct,
and
to get us
whatever.
to the over 675. Yeah.
So what does your day-to-day look like? Are you pushing for, as the development of your business continues, is it more on that multifamily side? Is it more on the single family or smaller unit side? Or are you guys kind of growing in both areas?
So with my background being in mergers and acquisitions and being in a CPA kind of a role and being an auditor, I've always looked at business and the way to scale business, and that's always taking yourself out of that doing seat and focusing on the business. So the property management side, it continues to expand in the way with that current team. I have a CEO of property management services that continues to find new business, new people coming on board, and that's their role. And my whole role is to add to that portfolio with us buying other multifamily. So they kind of work hand in hand.
With your background, you saying being a mergers and acquisition, how did you get? Is that what you went to school for?
So let's back up to my education and stuff like that. So I'm a chartered accountant, and that's similar to your CPA. We focus on kind of learning, from the audit, tax side, accounting side, finance side of how business operates, and I qualified in that, and then came over to the US and audited large public clients and stuff like that. And also
you're representing a firm?
Yeah, so I worked at Grant Thornton and down in Fort Lauderdale, and then came over to kind of the management consulting side.
Sure.
And that I spent about 4 years in that, where working with Wells Fargo, Silicon Valley Bank, Johnson & Johnson did a $3 billion acquisition. So where we would then bring in this new company that they acquired, people, places, technology. So working on all of those aspects of the business and making sure that they are integrated into the new, call it
Sure.
mothership, right? So when you have a merger and then you have a divestiture, when you have a company getting ready for sale, so getting all the books ready, getting all the people ready, so that they are on a platform that can
Pay out on those investments.
Yeah,
and
that can be transitioned.
Get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
So
pretty much. Yeah.
So you walk into this world representing this firm and you go through these large acquisitions. Where did you transition into? Where was the bridge between the acquisition and merger place to? And I'm assuming that the multifamily investments came before the single family, because I think you told me that you were doing more of the single family and smaller units on just kind of depends what the opportunity really looks like.
Right.
So I'm assuming the multifamily came for. How did you get that bridge and kind of step out into your own? What did getting away from that firm look like?
Well, the way I got into real estate, or the way I got into multifamily real estate was. Actually, it's a funny story. I was consulting at Johnson & Johnson at the time, and as a consultant, you obviously work tons of hours. I lived in pretty much lived out of my suitcase for most of the time anyway. And at a certain point, my wife and I, we looked at a few things. I was like, well, do we buy a house now, or do we buy? I was thinking actually of buying like a sports car, like a convertible or something.
And you decided to buy money-making opportunity.
My wife was like, maybe we should buy investment property. And I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And I was like, I'm really set on buying this Mercedes SL55 AMG. I won't forget it. Thank God I didn't, right? So we ended up buying a duplex, and I did my research. The thing is with me is like, if I go into something, I go into it 100%. So
sure.
I basically battened down the hatches and just studied all I could about it, and so I could understand and not master, but at least know enough to.
Seems to be kind of a cultural thing as well, because I know no South African business people that are kind of ankle deep in their business.
Right.
They're definitely committed and fully invested.
Yeah.
They've burned the ship for sure.
You have to burn the ship if you want to be successful in
sure.
anything, right? It's a decision, right? The decision is to. The Latin word is like, there's no other option. It's
sure.
done.
So you've got some disposable income. You pick up this duplex,
mm-hmm.
and you really are meticulous about what that looks like. And then what did that? How far are we from that first duplex and that first money making opportunity from being away from that firm and being invested in your own business?
That took from start. So the real estate bug kind of, but because the whole play there was like increase, add value, right? So we bought it low, got a good discount, took the rents from $750 to $1,300, and it was just so grossly under market value. And the tenant knew, and they didn't even want to move out. They're like, yeah, we understand, we'll pay that new rate. And I was like, this is amazing. And then from then we bought 7 units, and then I met my business partner today, who I have today, my COO, and if you ever read the book Traction, I'm the visionary, he's the integrator. Without him, I'm not doing any of the things that I think of or
sure.
whatever, right? So it's been phenomenal. We went and we bought a 7 unit, we bought a 14 unit, and then started syndicating, getting outside investors. So we got 59 unit, 56 unit, 90 unit, 101 unit, 176. So we've been growing and growing. I think slowly at first, but we had to put the systems and processes in. What was interesting, our first syndication, which is where we take outside people capital, because you kind of start off with your own money, and then you
sure.
kind of run out of your friends and family capital after a while, right? And me not being from America, it's a little harder to, I don't have that big support
sure.
kind of system in place. So it was an interesting way to see how this real estate thing plays out, but for the most part, it really got to a point where we were, okay, we need outside capital, and we our friend circles became larger, and we met other like-minded real estate investors and people, and that's how we expanded to the next larger set of deals. And that first syndication was like 6 deals in one. And that was our first major deal, not just our own capital. So we bought a portfolio deal, and it was I think it was like 6 different sellers, 6 different contracts, but we did it on the same one closing date. It was a mean feat to get done, right? So I don't think most people
Sure.
do that in their first deal.
And how much improvement goes into these properties that you're buying once you kind of get on the roll? Is there a lot of that goes into, or are you trying to kind of, little upgrades, limit the amount of spending you're putting in after the deal is done and kind of get closer to that rate? Or are you doing big upgrades and dramatically upgrading these properties as you acquire and add them to your portfolio?
Yeah, great question. I think the way we approach it is deal by deal basis.
Sure.
So each property kind of dictates what it needs, and kind of gives you that business plan, if you will. So when we look at our first deal, that was a heavy lift. So we knew we had to replace the roofs. We knew we had to get the parking lots redone.
Sure.
We knew we had every unit needed to be converted, but that's what we like, because there's so much meat on the bone.
Sure. There's margin after the fact. Just depends what the expectations you set of spending on that project are.
Correct. And then you throw in something like COVID, which slows down everything.
Sure.
And we could talk about that and how we got through that. But for the most part, it depends on the property. So the types of, you buying a C-class workforce housing and type of product, or B-class workforce housing type of product. So B-class, probably more newer built property. So you're looking at 80s, 90s vintage, so it's not going to need a lot of kind of that heavy lifting. If you look at the 70s, 60s stuff, you're gonna spend some dollars on plumbing and all that, and roofs and things like that. Yeah.
Sure. So and you bring up COVID. One thing I wanted to ask you before we kind of go there, because I definitely want to know how that impacted you, and also kind of how you forecast and are moving forward with that. But networking is a huge portion of our business, building out our network and relying on people for referrals and business and opportunities within what our expertise are as well. How important was that networking aspect once you get into needing a contractor and needing all these people that can find these deliverable things to bring value to the things that you're doing? Is that something that you guys already kind of had in place because of your past roles, or is that something that you kind of need to develop when you started down this road?
Yeah, great question again. So my business partner Nick, the reason why I think I can attribute our success to this is my background being in finance and business strategy and kind of process enhancement and trying to systematize things, and then his background is he's in the construction side, so he knows what the toilet costs, what the door costs, what the window costs, whatever, right? I can guess and whatever, but he'll know exactly, and we can work through that. So it's networking and relationships are huge, because you don't want to go and just pick some random person off the internet, right?
For sure.
It's just like with everything in the world. It's all about who you have warm referrals. It's much better if someone's used that vendor before, and then that's a lot of our business is generated, and the vendors we picked or subcontractors we pick is based on past experience or referrals.
Sure. What I wanted to talk to is, so you're talking about kind of, you're taking these deals deal by deal and assessing what resources you need to put in them to really make them do what you want them to do for your business. Tell me, how did COVID impact that? Like, where was your business, 10 months ago, as far as, and what rate were you guys growing at, and how did it impact that, and kind of how are you dealing with it still?
Yeah, COVID started, it was a very interesting period. We were very, we were very shocked. So literally it was like one of those points in our career. I think, we were like, oh, geez, do I go back to work? We were like, what's going to happen? There's a lot of unknowns, and we spent a lot of time internally just basically meetings every day, just like making sure that we were abreast of what's happening, what impact does this have on us. Like 2020 was a year that we had targeted some large growth in our business. So, as a goal, that was significantly slowed down. Sure. At the time. And, when kind of March hit, we We had just closed. Actually, we had just closed a 56 unit B class property in January, so like the 3rd of Jan, and then we were already working on the next one, and by February, March, we already identified something, and then it just kind of everything just stopped. Like all the lending dried up, all the and then it was a matter of, okay, what do you do? Like, take a step back. What can we control? What can't we control? And then we went from there. And we had meetings with our staff on the ground, and just almost literally every day had a status, like where we're at, what resources do we have for our tenants in their areas, right? So, okay, what if people can't work, that means they can't pay rent. That means we're in trouble. So what can we do? Luckily for us, COVID, the impact of COVID on our existing portfolio was very minimal. I think today, as it stands, we have 3 CDC letters out of a portfolio of over 600 units. So that's fantastic. People that have inability to pay because of COVID.
Sure.
We are probably, if I look back to the whole year, we actually acquired a 90 unit, we acquired a 101 unit, and we built a 19 unit townhome development up in close to Nashville. So COVID actually didn't stop us at that point when we made the decision, like, hey, this is the time to push. So now we push because everybody else is going to sit on the sidelines, because that's what happened. The lending dried up. The equity for the most part dried up, but then we found out, hey, there's some opportunistic folks out there that are looking for places to place capital. So instead of kind of hiding in a little cupboard somewhere, we turned around and we said, hey, what other opportunities are out there? So then that's when our venture capital really took off, and we actually bought a legal services company, because we're like, hey, well, what's going to generate cash flow, and what's recession, not I call resilient, and we ended up buying a property management company. We bought a lending services company, so not lending, a legal services company, where we it's basically, long story short, they serve like lawsuits and that kind of stuff, so process serving, which in a recession there's more lawsuits going around back and forth. So
how do you differentiate where what you want to invest in, especially over the last 10 months? How do you know what are you guys putting up criteria wise to decide, this is the criteria that I want to use to invest in this business company, money making opportunity? How are you guys kind of vetting out those opportunities?
Well, so each type of venture has its own return mechanism. So what is the IRR that we're looking for, and what's the hold period? So with our real estate, everybody always says you've got to stick to your own formula, and then don't deviate from that too much, but be agile. So in our multifamily space, we know we're targeting mid-teens to high-teen IRR, and that's on a 5 to 7 year hold, or we're with a 8 to 9% cash on cash kind of target. So that doesn't change. We stick to that. In the venture capital side, well, it's X amount of cash flow and X amount of IRR of a certain amount of period. So we think about what kind of EBITDA we want to generate, and then if we want to sell it, like if I had to sell this at a 7 multiple or 3 multiple of EBITDA, then how do I get my company to that level? So that's how we keep it simple.
And do you guys enter with exit in mind with those companies always?
Everything we do has to have an exit plan.
And what is usually your role for those companies as you make those investments? How do you as you're buying, does it come with a job or?
Yeah, so having that consulting background, it's kind of
allows you to wear many hats.
Yeah, so I come in, I sit in, I observe. So it's like a 90-day process. I want to understand what's going on in the business, how we can improve, how we can support. So a lot of it's more of a supportive role to get operations moving.
Sure.
Oh, you do everything manually? Well, here's the system. Now we have to train everybody in the system. So let's train everybody in the system. Well, okay, give it some time. Oh wow, we're making, you know, some serious margin improvements here.
Sure.
So that's the kind of thing that my role, you know, as the CEO of the whole group is to just make sure that
Reflective upon
everything.
the processes and the,
Right.
the health and homeostasis of your business.
Correct. And then then really it's just to support the teams, because, you know, a lot of the times folks just, they're so deep in the weeds of everything, they just know their piece. And what I learned early in my career as a chartered accountant was, you know, simple example, if somebody's working in their day-to-day and their page is always like, you know, facing north to south or whatever, and you flip it east to west, now it's, you know, they throw in the towel and like, oh my gosh, everything's, you know, like, so you need to help people with that transition and make sure that it's easy and very, make it as what's the word I'm looking for? So make it less of a impact to the day-to-day, so have a minimal impact on the day-to-day operation.
Yeah, we like to say that's kind of an approach that we take in merchant services as well, is that you don't want to go into a company and completely flip upside down, or in your case side to side, the way that they're doing business. Is, you know, you don't go into a company that's used to using a mobile reader attached to your phone to accept credit cards and try to sell them $10,000 worth of point of sale equipment, because that's not the way that they're used to doing business. You don't train companies that take payments over the phone and accept invoices on how to accept payments from their customer when they're in their storefront, because they're never going to be in that situation. Is that you're taking is a way to replicate what they're already doing and improve those processes.
Right.
And so as you invest in these and you become the decision maker for some of these things, is there a specific, are there tools, are there resources, are there other companies that specifically you kind of target these areas first, as I'm going to overhaul, you know, XYZ of these type of companies? How do you approach that and know what you have in your back pocket as far as, you know, the best way to approach solving some of those margin issues?
You know, again, it all depends on the company.
Sure.
It all depends on that investment. So we look at each property as like its own little business unit, right? Because that it has its, you know, property manager, it has its tenants, it has all the different aspects of that. Same thing with a company. You have, you know, your admin staff, you have your managers, and, you know, and the different levels, and making sure that everybody is working in synergy. So you know, I would say it's on a case by case basis. There's no from a tool perspective, you know, we like to make sure that we keep a healthy meeting cadence so that we are aware and abreast of issues before they even happen. So that's designing tools that, you know, can give you a, you know, people call it KPIs, people call it scorecards, whatever you want to call it, right? So we like to come into a company and say, okay, well, you know, I don't care what's going to happen at the end of the month with the financials. I need to know what's happening, you know, this week to week. So that's, if you're talking about
breaking down tool, that, you know, atomize that data kind of.
Yeah. And then, you know, now my team and teach them that, hey, you have the tool now, you have the early warning indicator of something that could, you know, be potentially flag something that could be an issue later on.
Sure.
And you can adjust and adapt to anything that needs to change, or change anything that needs to change.
Well, you seem very well versed. I mean, I think that merchant services has been one of the things that, you know, we see so many different types of industries and so many businesses in different areas that we feel very well versed as far as different industries goes, and you seem to kind of, you know, be possessing that same quality due to the nature of your business. But I have to always ask, is all of this time that you spend in your business and all the reflectiveness and meticulousness about the way that you approach these businesses, what does that lead you to do in your free time where you continue pushing? What do you like to do, and how's your family, and how is home life, and especially how does that, you know, flow into how you do business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. What's important to understand as an entrepreneur and as any business person or any business leader is that, and I learned this through a Tony Robbins coaching program. So I've been part of their program for a year now, and it's been transformative. So
you should take a lot of advice from Tony Robbins, except dating advice. I think hasn't he been divorced like half a dozen times? Yeah,
I don't know.
Everything but that. The guy's awesome. He's 6'10". You can't tell him anything. But relationship advice is probably the one you want to stray away from.
Well, so it's funny you say that, because he's not always, because we're humans, right? He's not always practicing what he's teaching, right?
For sure.
But
and you're probably saying it so much, it's hard to follow your own, just the way your mind works. It's hard to follow your own advice to the letter of the law. You want to outsmart yourself. It's human nature.
It's human nature, right? Yeah. So one part of the thing is, like, you look at your life when you set your goals. It's not just business, or work or whatever. It's relationships, it's family, it's quality time with the people that you love. So that thinking like that and kind of applying that to my life, my family life is I'd be missed to say we're blessed. We really are. Yeah, I have a little daughter. She's 23 months now. No, 23 months. She's almost 24 months old. She's 21 months old, and we're excited. We just moved recently, so we've got a lot of boxes and things that we're taking care of. But what we enjoy is the little quality time that we have at home. And as any hobbies, I do like to go to the driving range and hit a few balls. But like I told you, we're starting.
You're in an office full of golfers, so trust me. The putting green is we have a practice putting green. It's in the office beside us. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the family life is great, and taking time out, and actually not just taking it, but dedicating time to that.
Yeah, blocking it, protecting that time.
Block that time. I think that's important as a leader.
No doubt. Yeah. No doubt. That's the way that I position the question to everyone, is that we do these things in our 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or 7 to 7 sometimes, depending on the role and nature of your business. That the reason that we do those things, and lest we forget that we do those instead of what we want to do with our life, with our free time, and supporting our family and continuing to pass things on. Like, I have a little boy myself. He's almost 4.
Yeah.
He'll start wrestling this year. Passions that I had when I was, that age and older, and getting into different things that, I spend this time so that I can make him have the opportunity to find out what it is that that he is interested in. So I always pose that question this way: is that there's a certain amount of time that you should expect of yourself to be, family and a person and a friend. So it's good to hear that, man. I appreciate it. I wanted to ask before we kind of get out of here. This has been an incredible interview, and it's been a pleasure to meet you. And I welcome you to our office and our studio, and any deals that you're looking to. Let some novice investors throw their hat in the ring. We would be interested for any of that. We've invested in technology and several different products. So I hope to be able to do business with you moving forward. But tell me, as a merchant services company, a small business located in Ackworth, a networker, a father, what is it that the MP Group, as well as myself, can do to support your business moving into 2021? And what message do you have, if any, to our audience that you would ask for to, support of you?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think, what's important is thinking about the longer picture. That's why I got into real estate. That's why I got into switch from, that accounting side and think about, well, what does the future hold? And something that I always knew in my gut, I was always like, well, these 401k plans and all these things, I don't have no control over it.
Sure.
But when you invest in real estate, whether it be passively with a experienced operator, that's it. That's the people that are dealing with the transaction, dealing with that. So how MP can help us is, if you've got, accredited investors or even non-accredited investors that want to learn about investing or invest in upcoming deals that we have, we gladly get them out to our investor relations team and see if we can, if there's synergies, we can get them on board. Thinking about where we're at in the cycle and what's going on with all this money printing and all that.
Sure.
You know, assets appreciate at the end of this. When the government pumps all this money
I
out,
think so too.
you know, that, I mean, it's not a thing, it happens. It's true. It's like, you know, look at 2008, look at 2001, look at, you know, or every major event.
Any type of collateral seems to anything that's not printed money seems to appreciate if you're able to, you know, kind of protect the value through the lull.
Right. And think about value add. You know, you have a proven strategy. Well, I'm going in, I'm upgrading the floors, I'm upgrading the kitchen, I'm upgrading the bathrooms. Now I've got a better product, better tenant, better qualified tenant. So now you've got yield during your hold and you have a good exit.
Sure.
So, you know, that's, you know, MP could help us out there. And you know, of course, as we grow our different companies in the venture side, you know, we look forward to potentially partnering on the merchant service side if there's any synergy there.
Sure, for sure. Well, we'll continue to discuss that and see what we can do and throw some name arounds as far as investors go, and then as far as, you know, kind of what our service entails for anything that may do for you, as well as organizations that we're kind of affiliated with some that I think would have a benefit to your business. So I'll give you more of that information and make sure that we keep you networked. If you have anything else to say to our audience, go ahead, leave them with a farewell message, and then we'll pack it up and we'll talk some more.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to your guests, and it's really awesome. And you know, you can reach me at Vehano at dreamstoneinvest.com, or you can have a look at our website and click the contact us button. And again, that's dreamstoneinvest.com. And yeah, we look forward to chatting some more.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.